Welcome to the first video of Chapter 11, which is areas of triangles and parallelograms. Chapter 11 is all about area, so every section is going to be learning a new area formula. A lot of these you've learned before, a lot of them are also going to be new. There's two objectives today. As you can guess, we're going to calculate the area of triangles and parallelograms. We are also going to use areas to calculate missing side and angle measures. So we're going to go two ways. I'm going to give you the sides and the angles, you're going to find the area, and then we're going to go backwards. I'm going to give you the area, you're going to find the sides and angles. First thing we should probably talk about, considering that the entire chapter is about area, is what exactly is area? I'm going to give us a definition that we probably were given in elementary school. Area is the amount of space inside the figure. The amount of space, or the amount of stuff inside the figure. So the bigger the area, the bigger the figure is, in general. Few theorems. The area of a square. Well, if you remember, a rectangle is base times height, but in a square, the base and the height are the same. So the area of a square is just the side squared, or side multiplied by side. So that you should know. Next one, if two polygons are congruent, then their areas are equal. This should make sense also. If polygons are congruent, that means they have all the same sides, all the same angles. If I have two figures where all the sides are the same, all the angles are the same, their areas should also be the same. The area of a region is the sum of the areas of the non-overlapping parts. All that means is, if you take two figures and put them together, so if I have a square and then I add on a triangle, the total area is the area of the square, add the area of the triangle. So that should make sense. Just telling you can take a figure and break it down into smaller parts. And then last theorem, area of a rectangle is base multiplied by height. That brings us to this bigger idea about the area of a parallelogram is also base multiplied by height. One thing you have to remember, or you have to know, is that the height is always perpendicular. The height is always perpendicular to the base. So in this case, sometimes people think like AD is the height. Well, AD is not the height because it's not perpendicular to the base. There's no right angle here. So the base and the height always have to be perpendicular. So for example, in example number 1, it says find the area of parallelogram PQRS. Now, here's our base. Well, first thing, area of a parallelogram is base times height. You should always start out with a formula. I'm going to be asking you to memorize these formulas, and so I want to know what formula you're using. Okay, so our base is 6. Our height is the segment that's perpendicular to the base. Our height in this case is actually outside of the parallelogram. Our height is right here, perpendicular to the base, and our height is 8. So 6 multiplied by 8 is going to be 48 units squared. It's one way to do the problem. There's another way to do the same problem. If you look at your parallelogram sideways, this could also be considered the base. So 12 could also be considered the base. In that case, the height is going to be 4, because it's perpendicular to the base, so I get 12 multiplied by 4, which is 48 units squared again. So either way, no matter which way you look at the parallelogram, your area is going to be 48. Now, this illustrates an important idea. In the problems we do in class, we're not all going to be doing them exactly the same way. Some of you are going to have different methods. That being said, you should always come up with the correct answer no matter the method that you use. Okay, so let's flip to the next page. Okay, we have 2 more examples to complete here. Examples 2 and 3 say find the area of the parallelograms below. I'm going to do example 2 with you, and then you're going to do 3 on your own. Example 2, we have a parallelogram. So I'm going to start out with the area formula. Area is base multiplied by height. Now I'm going to notice my base and my height are here. I know that because they're perpendicular. Okay, next I notice this base is 21, so this base is also going to be 21. So my base is 21. But I still need to find the height. The height I'm missing. But I do notice that I have this little right triangle here. I have two sides, I need to find the third. So what should be screaming in your head right now is Pythagorean theorem. So let's do Pythagorean theorem. I have 7 squared, add h squared equals 25 squared. This becomes 49, add h squared equals 625. Subtracting 49, I get h squared equals 576. Taking the square root, I get h to be 24. So my height, the height of my parallelogram is 24. I can substitute this back into the area formula now. So my base is 21, my height is 24. When I multiply them, I get the area to be 504 centimeters squared. Now you have to remember that the units are always squared when you're doing area. That's because you're multiplying two quantities. I'm multiplying the base, which has a unit of centimeters, and the height, which also has a unit of centimeters. Centimeters times centimeters, centimeters squared. So area is always going to have units squared. Now, you have example 3 to do. Area is going to be base multiplied by height. Looks like you're going to have to find the height. One little hint I want to give you is I'm going to write a little 30 in here. So pause the video and try this example on your own, please. Good luck. Okay, let's see how we did. Okay, first let's notice what is my base, what is my height. Well, these two are perpendicular, so those are going to be your base and your height. Now, this base is 20, so the opposite base is also going to be 20. So it's going to be 20 multiplied whatever the height is. Well, I need to find the height. What you should have noticed is that you have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Hopefully we remember under that goes L root 3, 2L. I know the side across from the 20 is 12. Across from the 90 is 12. 12 is 2L, so L then is 6, and then I have 6 root 3. Now, my height is across from the 60 degrees, so my height then is 6 root 3. So my area is going to be 20 multiplied by 6 root 3. 20 multiplied by 6 is 120, and then I cube the root 3. Units are inches squared. So hopefully you remember the 30, 60, 90 triangles. If you don't, please make sure you ask me in class, because you will need to know these for the rest of the chapter. This chapter and next chapter. So that was parallelograms. The second half of this video is going to be areas of triangles. Now, area of a triangle, you should know this one. You learned this back in elementary school. It's 1/2 base multiplied by height. Again, what's important to remember is the base has to be perpendicular to the height. There's always going to be a right angle between the base and the height. So we're just going to jump right in with example 4. It says, consider triangle GEF. EN is 12, NF is 3, GE is 15. Find the area of triangle GEF. Okay, so my area is going to be 1/2 base multiplied by height. Identifying the base and the height, I have a right angle here, which means EF is my base, GN is my height. So my base in this case is 12, add 3. That's going to be the entire base. And then I still have to find the height. So this would be my height right here. Now what I'm going to notice is that I have a right triangle right here. So that GEN is a right triangle. So I can do Pythagorean theorem to find the height. I have 12 squared add h squared equals 15 squared. So I have 144 add h squared equals 225. This gives me h squared equals 81. If I take the square root, I get h equals 9. So my height is 9, and that can be substituted back in. So my area becomes 1/2 multiplied by 15 multiplied by 9. Okay, this 1/2 gets multiplied by one of the two. So I'm going to take 1/2 of 15, which is 7.5. So my area is 7.5 multiplied by 9. So my area ends up being 67.5 millimeters squared. Okay, so one thing I want to point out is this idea right here, that 1/2 gets multiplied by one of the two quantities, the 15 or the 9. I could have chosen the 9. So sometimes students multiply like they distribute the 1/2. Don't do that. It's bad. But you should have a calculator. So hopefully we can figure that out. Okay, so here's our next example. So example number 5, the base of a triangle is twice its height. The area is 36. Find the base and the height. So I have some triangle here. I have the base, and I have the height, and I know that the area is 36. It says the base is twice the height. So the height is some quantity, h. The base is twice that, 2h. Now, I would like you to pause the video and finish this problem, please. I will let you know you should get an integer for h, for the height. So you should get a number that doesn't have a decimal or a fraction. Be very careful with your setup. Good luck. Okay, let's see how we do. We know that area is 1/2 base multiplied by height. My area is 36, so that's 1/2. The base is 2h, the height is h. Okay, so I'm going to keep that 1/2. 2h multiplied by h is 2h squared. Now, 1/2 and 2 cancel each other, so I get 36 equals h squared, and h equals 6. And the question actually asks to find the base and the height. So in this case, our height is 6 inches, because I'm told the area is in square inches. The base is 2h, so it's going to be 12 inches. Just as a mental check, let's make sure that our area turns out to be 36. So remember, area is 1/2 base multiplied by height, which in this case, the base is 12, the height is 6. 1/2 of 12 is 6, so this is 6 multiplied by 6, which is 36. So my answer checks out. You're going to have more examples like this in class. Sometimes they get a little more difficult. It's always a good idea to check your answer when you can. I know this video has been a little bit on the long side. We have one more example to do together, and then you have one to do on your own. If you would flip the page, please. Okay, so example 6 we're going to do together. It says you need to buy paint so that you can paint the side of a barn. A gallon of paint covers 350 square feet. How many gallons should you buy? So, looking at the figure, we see we have this side of a barn. It has a rectangle and it has a triangle. We want to know how much paint we need to buy. Well, the gallons of paint are sold by 350 square feet, so they're sold by area. So really we need to know the area of this barn. So I'm going to have to find the area of that rectangle, and I'm going to have to find the area of that triangle. And that'll give me the total area. Well, rectangle is base multiplied by height. In this case, my base is 26, my height is 18. So the area of the rectangle part of the barn is 468 feet squared. Triangle is 1/2 base multiplied by height. Now, just so we're all clear, this is the triangle that I'm looking at. I told my legs are congruent, and the hypotenuse is 26. It's also a right triangle. Now, that right angle connects the base to the height. So my base and my height are connected by that right angle. I'm going to draw this triangle like this instead, kind of on its side. Here's my right angle, here's my base and my height, and the hypotenuse is 26. Okay, so the area is 1/2 base times height. Unfortunately, I do not know the base and I do not know the height. So I'm going to have to find both of those. Now, this is a right triangle and the legs are congruent. So the angles are also going to be congruent. This is going to be 45 and 45. So I have a triangle that's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So hopefully we remember these from Chapter 7. I know this is quite a throwback with the 30, 60, 90, and 45, 45, 90. Now, 30, 60, 90 that we did before was L, L root 3, and 2L. 45, 45, 90 is going to be L, L, L root 2. The 26 is across from the 90, so it goes under the 90. So I know 26 equals L root 2. I have to divide both sides by root 2. So I get L equals 26 over root 2. Now, 26 divided by 2 is 13, and then I keep the root 2. So my base is 13 root 2. My height is 13 root 2. And now I can find the area. So the area of the triangle is going to be 1/2 base, which is 13 root 2, multiplied by height, which is 13 root 2. Now, 13 times 13 is 169. Root 2 times root 2 is just 2. 169 multiplied by 2 is 338. So the area of my triangle is 1/2 of 338, which is 169 feet squared. So now I have two areas, one for the rectangle and one for the triangle. So my total area is going to be 468, add 169, which is 637 feet squared. That's my total area. I have to remember, though, to answer the question. The question specifically says, how many gallons of paint should you buy? They're sold in cans or buckets of 350 square feet. So I need 637 square feet. I'm going to divide by 350. And I get 1.82. So I need 1.82 gallons. Now let's think about this. You guys have probably been to a hardware store. You've been to Home Depot or Lowe's or Menards. Have you ever seen paint sold in 1.82 gallons? Probably not. Most of the time they are sold in 1 gallon buckets. So I'm probably going to have to really buy 2 gallons of paint. And then I'm going to have a little left over. Maybe I can save it for next time I need to paint or for touch-ups. Okay, so I know that problem was a little lengthier. But it's important that you're able to do that, to break down a figure and find the corresponding areas. When you come to class, we're certainly going to be doing a few difficult examples like that. Now, moving on. It says, did we accomplish the objectives? We had 2 in this video. We calculated the areas of triangles and parallelograms. That's what we did most of the video. I gave you a figure, you found the base and the height, and then you used the formula to find the area. We also calculated missing sine and angle measures. That was like example 5, where I gave you the area, you had to set up an equation and solve for the base and the height. Here is the example to check to see if we accomplished the objectives, so if we actually learned what we were supposed to. It says consider a right triangle where the hypotenuse measures 26 and one leg measures 24. Calculate the area of a triangle. So the hint that I am telling you is to draw a picture. So draw a picture. Remember that area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. When you come to class tomorrow, I'm going to be checking to make sure that you have this problem completed. Okay, if you need one more example, flip the page and I will do one more example with you. If not, good luck on this problem. Okay, here's the extra example that we are going to do together if you need it. It says consider a triangle where the base measures 14 feet. If the area of the triangle is 105 feet squared, find the height. Okay, so area is 1/2 base multiplied by height. I'm told the area is 105. So I have 105 is 1/2. The base is 14. I'm solving for the height. Okay, I told you that 1/2 can either be multiplied by the base or the height. It's up to you. I'm going to multiply 14 by the base. 1/2 by the base of 14. So 1/2 of 14 is 7. So really I have 105 equals 7h. If I divide both sides by 7, I get my height to be 15 feet. And that's it. Now, it's always smart just to check our answer. Area is 1/2 base times height. My area is 105. Is that equal to 1/2 my base of 14 and my height of 15? Well, 14 multiplied by 15 is 210. Half of 210 is 105. I get 105 equals 105, so my answer checks out. The height of the triangle is 15 feet. Now, when you come to class tomorrow, I'm going to be making sure that you have that last example finished. The example that says, did we accomplish the objectives? So make sure you go back to that. Good luck.